Right. So I want to talk about multiplication. And let's consider multiplying negatives with positive. Now, we're going to start out like this. Suppose we have 3 times 2. Well, that's the same as adding a pair of 3's. And this we know is 6. So suppose we have this, negative 3 times 2. Well, we'll treat this as adding a pair of negative 3's. And again, this is just, it's a mathematical convention to, I guess, emphasize a negative number. But negative 3 plus negative 3, if you add those two together, whether you use the geometric method or one of our formulas, you get negative 6. So this is what we've got so far. From here, we have positive times positive came out positive, and then negative times positive out negative. So what we've got, when the signs are the same, it came out positive. When the signs are different, it came out negative. Let's save this up above. Let me get my eraser here. All right. Now, suppose we have the following. Negative 5 times 0. Well, we know this is equal to 0. Now, suppose we do this. Let's rewrite 0 as negative 3 and negative 3 plus 3. Now, this still adds up to 0, so nothing's really changed. We've just taken 0 and added it up, well, made it look different. We could have said negative 7 plus 7. It would have worked just as well. But you can try it out on your calculator. Negative 3 plus 3 still equals 0. Now we're going to distribute the negative 5. So we'll get negative 5 times, and here I'll use won't quite use the algebra notation, times negative 3 plus, and then I'll put these both in parentheses, multiply them together, negative 5 times 3. Well, what do we do with this? Well, we know that if you take a negative times a positive, it's just going to come out negative. So we get negative 5 times negative 3 plus, and then for negative times positive, negative 15. All this is still equal to 0. Distributing isn't going to change this. Rewriting 0 as negative 3 plus 3 isn't changing that either. So here's the thing. If this is negative 15, what number can you add to this for it to become 0? And there's only one number. The only number you can add to negative 15 and get 0 is the opposite of negative 15, or 15. This has to be the case. So that means negative 5 times negative 3, it's got to be 15, because only 15 plus negative 15 would give you 0. So negative 5 times negative 3 is 15. Or put another way, negative times negative also equals positive. So what we're getting is this: when the signs are the same, the answer is positive. Well, there's one more you want to try to figure out. Positive times negative. So suppose we have this. 2 times negative 3. Well, we can call this 2 times 0 minus 3. Now we can distribute this too. This will go to the 0, and this will go to the 3. Now we can follow order of operations, and you have to do what's in the parentheses first. But a way to get around that, and we'll talk more about this in algebra, is you can use what's called distribution. So we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here. But you could use distribution, and we'll talk more about that later, to get 2 times 0 minus 2 times 3. Now 2 times 2 is 0, 2 times 3 is 6. And so what do we get? Well, 0 minus 6 is negative 6. So 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. So what this means is positive times negative is negative. So this is the general pattern we're going to follow. In fact, it's the pattern we'll follow. So for example, negative 1/2 times 8. Well, it's a negative times a positive. The answer's got to be negative. This will be negative 4. Negative 6 squared. Well, this means a number times itself. So negative 6 times negative 6. Negative times negative. Well, negative times negative is positive. So this will be a positive 36. And if we have 25 times negative 0.1, well, positive times negative is negative. So positive times negative becomes negative 2.5. And that's it. So that's multiplication. Any questions? Let me know.